There are moments in life when silence becomes unbearable, when the weight of your own being presses so heavily against your chest that even breathing feels like a form of surrender. You sit there, surrounded by the hum of ordinary life, clocks ticking, footsteps fading, voices passing like shadows. And yet inside you there is a roar, a quiet fire that no one else seems to hear. That fire is the beginning. That fire is the invitation. Rumi knew this fire well. He did not run from it. He did not attempt to drown it in noise or cover it with distraction. He leaned into it. He allowed it to undo him. And in that undoing, he discovered the secret the world has forgotten: that longing is not a weakness, but the path itself. Longing is the teacher that breaks us open, tears away every illusion we've used to build a life of safety, and leaves us trembling before the truth. Perhaps you have felt it. That quiet despair that no achievement can silence, that emptiness that even love cannot fill. You look around, and everyone seems to know who they are, where they are going, what the meaning of life is supposed to be. But you feel like a stranger in your own story, like a guest who never received the invitation. And so you carry that hollow ache like a secret, pretending it is not there, when in truth it is the very voice of the beloved calling you home. Rumi's words are not for the comfortable. They are not for those who believe they have figured it all out. They are for the broken, the restless, the seekers who cannot sleep through the night because something inside keeps whispering, "There is more. There is always more." His poetry does not decorate reality, it dismantles it. It is a hand that tears the veil, a flame that refuses to let you hide in the dark. Close your eyes for a moment. Imagine standing in a room filled with mirrors. Each mirror reflects a different version of you: the child you once were, the lover you once longed for, the mask you wear at work, the shadow you try to hide. You stand surrounded by your own illusions. Now imagine Rumi walking into that room, his eyes aflame with a light you cannot explain. He does not speak. He simply shatters each mirror, one by one, until nothing remains but the raw, trembling presence of your own being. That is the work of his words. That is the fire that begins to undo you. It is not comfortable. It was never meant to be. Rumi himself was broken open when Shams of Tabriz entered his life like a storm, tearing apart the careful walls of a scholar and leaving him trembling in the fire of love. We call it friendship, but it was more than that. It was recognition. It was the meeting of two souls who had seen through the illusion, who had tasted the silence behind the words. Shams did not come to comfort Rumi. He came to awaken him. And in that awakening, the poetry began to pour out like a flood that could not be contained. Perhaps that is why his verses still burn across centuries, because they are not crafted to impress. They are not written to win admiration. They are cries from the deepest chamber of the soul, words spoken from a wound that had learned to sing. When you hear them, something inside you stirs, because you recognize that wound. You recognize that fire. And for a moment, you realize you are not alone in your longing. So, if you are here, listening, it is not by accident. You may think you came out of curiosity, or boredom, or chance. But the truth is, your soul brought you here. The same fire that once burned in Rumi is burning in you. And this is your invitation to stop running, to stop pretending, to let yourself be undone. Because only in the breaking does the light begin to pour through. There is a moment after the fire when the world becomes unbearably still. You look around and nothing has changed. The sky is the same. The trees still sway in the wind. The noise of the city continues. And yet, inside, everything has shifted. It is as though someone has pulled away the fabric of sound and left you standing in a vast silence. Not the silence of emptiness, but the silence that hums with a presence too immense to be captured by words. Rumi called this silence the language of God. He said, "Silence is the language of God. All else is poor translation." And when you begin to taste it, even for a fleeting moment, you realize how fragile words truly are. We spend our lives wrapping everything in explanations, building walls of definitions, weaving nets of thought to hold the ocean of existence. But the ocean cannot be caught. It slips through every word, every idea, until only silence remains. Have you ever sat in the middle of the night when the world is asleep and felt that silence? At first, it feels unsettling, like a void pressing against your skin. But if you stay with it, if you let it expand inside you, it becomes alive. It begins to breathe with you, to hold you, to teach you. That silence is not the absence of sound. It is the presence of the beloved, waiting for you to finally stop speaking long enough to listen. Rumi understood this better than most. His poems are filled with words, yes, but the real teaching is not in the words themselves. It is in the space between them. Each verse is like a doorway opening into silence, a reminder that beyond the music of language lies the stillness of truth. When he tells you to burn away illusions, he is not asking you to believe something new. He is asking you to unlearn the noise, to return to that inner stillness where God has always been waiting. Think of it like a cup. When the cup is filled with muddy water, you cannot see its true nature. You must empty it first. Only in emptiness can it receive something pure. The soul works the same way. We carry so much: expectations, fears, regrets, names, roles, stories, and we mistake them for who we are. But beneath all that weight, there is a vast, empty cup waiting to be filled with light. That emptiness is not a curse. It is preparation. The world fears emptiness. Society teaches us to run from it, to drown it in noise, to fill it with endless distraction. But the mystics, Rumi among them, tell us the opposite. Do not fear the empty space. Step into it. Let it open inside you, because it is only in that emptiness that the beloved can enter. And so the fire that breaks you open is followed by silence that remakes you. First, you are undone. The masks fall, the illusions collapse, the false identities crumble, and then, in the raw quiet of your own being, you begin to hear the hidden music that was always there, not outside you, but within you, not in the noise of the world, but in the heartbeat of your own soul. Imagine Rumi again, this time not shattering mirrors, but sitting beside you in silence. He does not need to speak. He simply closes his eyes and waits, and slowly you begin to feel it, the vast stillness unfolding between you, wrapping you both in its embrace. You realize that the greatest teaching he ever offered was not in what he said, but in what he left unsaid. The silence is not empty. It is overflowing. It is the place where longing meets fulfillment, where pain becomes light, where the drop remembers it has always been part of the ocean. It is in that silence that you finally begin to sense the truth. You are not separate. You never were. When the silence deepens, something unexpected begins to happen. At first, you only feel the absence of noise, the empty hollow where your thoughts once circled like restless birds. But then, as if from nowhere, a presence begins to rise. It does not come with trumpets or thunder. It does not announce itself with great power. It arrives like a fragrance you cannot trace, like a warmth that spreads across your chest without a source. You cannot explain it, and yet you know. The beloved has entered. Rumi wrote again and again of the beloved, but he never tried to define him. He knew that to define is to diminish, to give a shape to what has no boundary. Instead, he spoke in images: the wine that intoxicates, the mirror that reflects, the fire that burns, the ocean that swallows the drop. Each metaphor is a doorway pointing to the same mystery, the presence of the divine hidden within the heart. Have you ever looked into someone's eyes and for a moment felt you were staring into infinity? That is the beloved peeking through. Have you ever listened to music so pure that it made your chest ache, not from sadness, but from something too beautiful to hold? That ache is the beloved touching you. Have you ever sat alone, with no reason to smile, and suddenly felt joy rising from nowhere, as if light itself had chosen your body as its resting place? That joy is the beloved reminding you that you were never abandoned. The world will try to tell you otherwise. It will say that the beloved is far away, hidden in temples or books, accessible only through priests and rituals. But Rumi's fire burns all those illusions. He reminds us that the beloved is not found by walking across the world, but by turning inward, by daring to step into the silence that most fear. The beloved is not an external guest to be invited. The beloved is the very core of your being, the one who has been breathing you since the beginning. This is why longing is sacred. We mistake it for emptiness, for a wound that must be healed. But Rumi shows us that longing is itself the proof of presence. You cannot long for what does not exist. The ache in your chest is not a sign of absence. It is the pulse of the beloved within you, pressing against the walls you've built, asking to be let out. Close your eyes and imagine yourself standing before a locked door. You have been knocking on it for years, hoping someone will open from the other side. Now imagine realizing that the key was in your pocket all along, that the door was never locked, that the beloved was not waiting behind it, but within you. That is the shift Rumi invites us into, the recognition that what you seek is already what you are. The face of the beloved cannot be painted. It wears too many disguises. It appears in a child's laughter, in the lines of an old woman's hands, in the silence of a mountain, in the roar of the sea. And yet, beyond all disguises, there is a gaze, wordless, infinite, burning with love, that looks out from the center of your own chest. That is the gaze that Rumi discovered, and once he saw it, he could never unsee it. Perhaps you have caught glimpses too. Perhaps that is why you are here. Because something inside you remembers, even if only faintly, that there is more than the roles you play, the names you carry, the walls you defend. Something in you has always been searching for that gaze, for that beloved who is both closer than your breath and vaster than the stars. And so the journey continues. First the fire, then the silence, and now the meeting. Not with another, but with the hidden one who has been walking beside you all along. The beloved does not arrive from outside. The beloved is revealed when you finally stop searching everywhere else. There comes a time on this path when the beloved does not arrive in sweetness, but in pain. You may expect joy, light, visions, and instead, what rises is an old wound you thought had long healed. Memories return, sharp and uninvited. A grief you buried resurfaces like a ghost. A loneliness creeps in and refuses to leave. And your first instinct is to resist, to push it down again, to cover it with distraction. But Rumi whispers differently. He says, "The wound is the place where the light enters you." At first, this feels impossible. How could pain be a gift? How could suffering carry the seed of transformation? We spend our lives fleeing discomfort, chasing pleasure, numbing ourselves to avoid the ache. And yet the mystics tell us, do not flee, do not numb, stay. Because the very place you fear most is the very place where the beloved is waiting. Think of a cracked vessel. We see the crack as weakness, as imperfection. But only through the crack can light pour in. Only through the crack can water escape to nourish the ground. Your soul is the same. The wounds you carry, heartbreaks, betrayals, losses, failures, they are not evidence of your brokenness. They are invitations. They are openings. They are sacred doorways through which grace can flow. Rumi knew this intimately. His own life was torn apart when Shams disappeared, leaving him with an absence so fierce it nearly consumed him. And yet, from that wound, poetry erupted. From that absence, the presence of the beloved grew stronger than ever. If Shams had never left, the wound would not have opened. And without the wound, the flood of verses that continue to awaken souls centuries later would never have been born. This is the paradox of the path. The place you resist most fiercely is the place of your greatest treasure. The cave you fear to enter holds the jewel you have been searching for. Your tears are not signs of weakness, but rivers carving new pathways through the landscape of your soul. The pain you carry is not punishment, it is preparation. Sit for a moment with your own wounds. Do not judge them. Do not try to fix them. Simply feel them. Notice how each ache has shaped you, how each loss has carved depth into your being, how each grief has widened the container of your heart. If you look closely, you will see that the very things you once thought would destroy you are the things that made you capable of love. Pain softens us. It strips away arrogance, shatters illusions of control, reminds us of our shared fragility. Without pain, compassion would be impossible. Without loss, gratitude would remain shallow. Without wounds, we would never know the tenderness of grace. The beloved enters not through our defenses, but through the places where our defenses have already collapsed. Imagine again sitting with Rumi. He does not look at your polished mask, your practiced smile. He looks directly at the wound you try to hide, and instead of recoiling, he bows to it. He honors it, because he knows that beneath that wound lies your doorway to the infinite. He knows that if you have the courage to sit with your pain, to let it break you open, light will pour through in ways you cannot imagine. The wound is not the end of the story. It is the beginning. What feels like collapse is the first step of transformation. What feels like death is the seed of new life. The beloved is not found by avoiding your wounds, but by walking straight into them, by daring to believe that even in the deepest ache, there is a hidden fire waiting to ignite. And so, the invitation remains. Do not turn away. Do not close the door. Let the wound open. Let the light pour in. There is a fire within you. Not the fire of anger, not the fire of destruction, but a fire older than your bones, older than the earth itself. It is the flame that has been burning since the first breath of creation, and it burns still in the center of your chest. Rumi called it the fire of love, not sentimental love, not fragile affection, but the love that consumes everything false until only truth remains. This fire is both terrifying and beautiful. Terrifying because it refuses to let you cling to illusions. It burns away the masks you wear, the lies you tell yourself, the walls you hide behind. beautiful, because what it leaves behind is pure, raw, unshakable presence. In its light, you remember who you are. Have you felt it? That strange heat rising when you are touched by beauty, when music pierces you, when longing refuses to let you sleep. It is not mere emotion. It is the fire at work, burning the veil of separation, drawing you closer to the beloved. At times it feels unbearable, like you will collapse under the intensity. And yet, when you surrender to it, you find it is not there to harm you. It is there to transform you. Rumi's life itself became a furnace of this fire. Once a scholar of law, respected and composed, he was shattered by the meeting with Shams. That meeting was a spark, and the disappearance of Shams was the wind that turned spark into inferno. Suddenly, his life was no longer about intellect or reputation. It became about the fire, the burning love that would not let him rest until every word, every breath, every heartbeat was given back to the beloved. This fire is not reserved for saints or mystics. It is within you too. It has always been. Every time you feel dissatisfaction with a shallow life, that is the fire. Every time you weep for no reason, you can explain, that is the fire. Every time you long for something you cannot name, that is the fire reminding you. You are not meant to live half asleep. You are meant to burn. But here lies the choice. You can resist it, or you can surrender. To resist is to suffer endlessly, to cling to the ashes of a false self. To surrender is to step willingly into the furnace and let it consume you, not to destroy you, but to reveal the gold hidden beneath the dross. Like metal in a smith's fire, you are melted, purified, reshaped. And what emerges is not smaller, weaker, or broken. It is radiant, unshakable, whole. Imagine sitting with Rumi as he looks at you, with eyes that blaze like embers. He would not tell you to escape the fire. He would tell you to trust it, to let it take what you no longer need, to let it refine you until the only thing left is love itself. Because in the end, the fire does not take from you. It gives you back to yourself. The world fears this fire. It prefers comfort, safety, predictability. But comfort is not awakening. Safety is not freedom. Only the fire can unchain you. Only the fire can dissolve the false and reveal the eternal. That is why Rumi's words still blaze across centuries. They are not gentle candles, but wild flames meant to set your soul alight. And so the invitation is simple, though never easy. Stop resisting. Stop fearing. Step into the fire. Let it burn. Let it cleanse. Let it transform you. Because only through the fire will you remember that you too are flame. When the fire becomes too fierce to contain, the body itself begins to move. It cannot remain still because something greater has taken over. This is why Rumi spoke of the dance, the whirl, the turning that unravels the self. To those who watch from the outside, it may look like mere spinning, a ritual, a performance. But to the one who turns, it is the undoing of gravity itself. It is the dissolving of every boundary, every illusion of control, every last trace of separation. The whirling dervishes who trace their lineage back to Rumi do not dance for beauty or art. They dance to disappear. They open their arms, one hand raised to the heavens, one hand turned toward the earth, and they spin, not to entertain, but to become a channel. The raised hand receives, the lowered hand gives. Heaven flows into earth, eternity flows into time. The beloved flows through the body, and in the turning, the ego grows dizzy and falls away. leaving only the music of existence itself. Close your eyes and imagine it. The world blurring as you turn, faster and faster, until you no longer know where you end and where the air begins. The edges of your body dissolve. Your thoughts scatter like leaves in the wind, and suddenly you are no longer a you. You are the turning itself. You are the motion, the music, the still point at the center of the spin. Rumi once said, "Try to accept the changing seasons of your soul. Even winter will turn to spring." The whirl is that spring. It is the moment when the frozen ground of identity cracks open and the seed of the eternal bursts forth. In the turning, there is no past, no future, no story to defend. There is only the now, spinning endlessly, a doorway into infinity. This is not metaphor alone. The body remembers truths the mind has forgotten. When you move, when you surrender to rhythm, when you let yourself be carried by the spiral of existence, you touch something the intellect cannot reach. That is why mystics have always used the body as part of the path, walking in circles, bowing, spinning, breathing, because the body knows how to dissolve. It knows how to become a vessel. Perhaps you have felt this in small ways, dancing without thought until you forgot yourself, running until your body became rhythm and breath, losing yourself in the sway of waves, in the rise and fall of your own heartbeat. These are glimpses of the whirl, moments when you realize that what you call you is only a temporary arrangement of motion, and that beneath it all, the beloved is the one who has always been spinning the wheel. For Rumi, the whirl was not escape. It was return. Return to the center that does not move, even as everything around it spins. Return to the silence at the heart of sound, the stillness at the core of motion. The dance is not about frenzy, but about balance. It is not about chaos, but about surrender. The turning is a reminder that life itself is a circle, a spiral ever deepening into the mystery. Imagine standing beside Rumi as he begins to turn. At first slowly, as though listening for a music only he can hear. Then faster, until his robes rise like wings, until his eyes close, until the boundaries between body and spirit blur. He is not dancing for you. He is dancing for the beloved. And as you watch, something inside you begins to turn as well. A silent whirl in the center of your chest, a spiral pulling you inward toward the still point of truth. The whirl teaches us that surrender is not stillness alone. Sometimes surrender is movement, wild and unrestrained. Sometimes it is giving your body back to the rhythm of creation, allowing yourself to be spun like a star in the vast galaxy of being. And in that motion, you are undone, not lost, but found, because in the end, the whirl is not about spinning endlessly. It is about finding the unmoving center within you, the place where the beloved waits in silence. The dance strips away the false until only that center remains. And in that center, you discover you were never separate at all. When the spinning slows, when the fire quiets into embers, what remains is clarity, a stillness so transparent that you begin to see in ways you never could before. Rumi often spoke of the heart as a mirror. He said that the purpose of life is to polish that mirror until it shines so brightly that it reflects the beloved without distortion. But most of us carry mirrors covered in dust. Layers of fear, regret, resentment, pride, and longing cloud the surface. We look into it and see only fragments, a warped version of ourselves, a distorted reflection of reality. And we mistake the distortion for truth. We think the dust is who we are. The mystic path is not about adding more, but about removing what obscures. It is the slow, patient polishing of the heart until the surface becomes pure, until the mirror is so clean that it no longer reflects shadows, but light itself. That is why Rumi's words cut so deeply. They are not decorating the mirror, they are scrubbing it. They hurt because they scrape away the dust we cling to, the stories we have mistaken for identity. Imagine holding a mirror to the sun. At first, the surface is dull and the light is weak. But as you polish it, as you wipe away the dirt, the reflection grows brighter, sharper, until eventually the mirror no longer seems to have a surface of its own. It is only light. It is only radiance. That is the state Rumi longed for, a heart so polished that it becomes nothing but a reflection of the divine. And here lies the paradox. The mirror does not create the light, it only reflects it. In the same way, your heart does not create love or truth or beauty. It reveals what is already there. The beloved has always been shining, always been pouring light. It is our task only to clear the surface, to polish the heart, until nothing stands in the way of that radiance. But polishing is not easy. It means facing yourself. It means admitting the dust, the shadows, the lies you have carried. It means sitting with your anger, your grief, your pride, not to judge them, but to release them. Each time you let go, the mirror grows clearer. Each time you forgive, a layer of dust falls away. Each time you surrender, the light grows stronger. Rumi often pointed to love as the greatest polish, not love as possession, not love as desire, but love as surrender, the willingness to give yourself entirely to the flame, to let yourself be undone by beauty, to let the beloved wipe away what you cannot. He knew that love is the hand that polishes the mirror most completely. Perhaps you have felt this too. A moment when your heart cracked open so wide that all the dust scattered. A moment when someone's gaze or a piece of music or a sudden silence polished you without effort, leaving you raw and luminous. These glimpses remind us that the mirror is not broken, only covered. That the clarity we seek is not far away, but just beneath the surface. Imagine again Rumi standing before you, holding up a mirror. You look into it, and at first see only your flaws, your wounds, your masks. But then he wipes the glass with his sleeve, and suddenly you catch a glimpse of something infinite shining back. You realize you are not looking at yourself at all, but at the beloved reflected in you. That is the secret. The mirror of the heart was never meant to show you who you think you are. It was always meant to reveal who you truly are, the light that has no beginning and no end. And when the mirror shines clear, you discover that what you sought in temples and stars was here all along, gazing at you through your own eyes. There is a story Rumi loved to tell, not in prose but in poetry, in whispers hidden between lines. It is the story of the drop and the ocean. The drop believes itself to be small, fragile, insignificant. It trembles at the edge of the wave, fearing separation, fearing annihilation. But when it falls, when it surrenders to the vastness, it discovers that what it feared as death was in truth the beginning of life. For the drop is not lost in the ocean. It becomes the ocean. We live our lives like drops, clinging to our smallness, terrified of dissolution. We say, "This is me, this body, this name, this story, this is who I am." And we guard it fiercely, afraid that to let go would mean to vanish. But Rumi's words strike like lightning. You are not a drop in the ocean. You are the entire ocean in a drop. Think about that for a moment. You, with all your doubts, your wounds, your longing, inside you is the vastness itself. The stars, the galaxies, the infinite expanse, they are not outside you. They are reflected within you. The soul is not bound by skin or bone. It stretches endlessly, a wave rising from eternity, returning always to its source. This is why longing hurts so deeply. The drop remembers. Even if the mind forgets, the heart knows. It knows it was never separate, never abandoned. It aches because it remembers the vast embrace of the ocean, and it will not rest until it returns. Every moment of beauty, every shiver of awe, every tear of love, they are the ocean calling the drop back home. Imagine standing on the shore at night, the sea stretching endlessly before you, the waves shimmering under the moonlight. You pick up a single drop in your palm. To the eye, it seems small, weak, powerless. But if you look closer, if you hold it up to the moon, you see that the entire reflection of the sky is contained within it. That is your soul. Small in appearance, infinite in truth. The journey of the drop is the journey of surrender. Not a passive surrender, not despair, but a joyful leap into vastness. It is trust in the ocean that has always held you, even when you imagined yourself separate. The drop cannot control the tide. It cannot resist forever. Sooner or later, it must return. And in that return, it finds not death, but expansion beyond measure. Rumi knew this surrender not as a concept, but as lived experience. His entire being became a drop dissolving into the beloved. His words are not theories. They are waves crashing against our shores, reminding us of what we already are. To read him is to feel the salt of the ocean on your tongue, to hear the endless rhythm pulling you deeper, closer, home. Perhaps you have felt this too. Moments when the boundaries of I softened, when you looked at the sky or into someone's eyes and forgot where you ended and where the world began. In those moments, the drop remembers. The ocean surges through, whispering, "You are not small. You are not separate. You are me." And so, the invitation is clear. Stop clinging to the edges. Stop fearing the tide. Let yourself fall into the vastness. The ocean does not want to destroy you. It wants to remind you. It wants to show you that the you cling to was never the whole story. That the truth is so much larger, so much deeper, so much more infinite than you can imagine. The drop that falls does not disappear. It becomes the roar of waves, the shimmer of light, the endless depth of the sea. It becomes everything it once longed for. And so will you. After the fire, the silence, the whirl, the mirror, and the ocean, one might expect that the beloved hides only in the extraordinary, in visions, revelations, ecstatic encounters. But Rumi insists otherwise. He reminds us that the divine is not somewhere far, beyond reach. The beloved hides in plain sight, woven into the very fabric of the ordinary. Think of the way sunlight spills across a wooden floor in the morning. Think of the laughter of a child echoing down a street. Think of the steam rising from a cup of tea, or the sound of rain tapping against your window. These are not just simple moments. They are veils lifted for an instant, revealing the beloved smiling through creation. Rumi wrote, "There are 1,000 ways to kneel and kiss the ground." He knew that worship does not always look like prayer mats and temples. Sometimes it is peeling an orange slowly, with presence. Sometimes it is listening fully to a friend's voice. Sometimes it is sweeping the floor, breathing, walking, being. The beloved does not demand grand gestures, only awareness, only the willingness to see what has always been here. but we are trained to overlook it. Our eyes search for miracles, for thunder in the sky, for lightning bolts of revelation. We forget that the miracle is already here, quietly pulsing in every heartbeat, every breath. The ordinary is not ordinary at all. It is the disguise God wears so that we do not become overwhelmed by the immensity of His presence. Imagine yourself walking down a street at dusk. The lamps flicker on, one by one, casting long shadows. People rush past, each carrying their own unseen burdens. You might think it is just another evening, just another routine moment. But pause, look deeper. In the golden light, in the faces, in the movement, the beloved is everywhere. The ordinary becomes luminous when the eyes of the heart are open. Rumi's genius was this. He could look at the most simple thing, a reed flute, a candle, a loaf of bread, and turn it into a revelation. He was not inventing meaning. He was unveiling what was already there. The reed flute song was not just music, but the cry of the soul longing for its source. The candle's flame was not just fire, but the light of love consuming itself. Even bread was a metaphor, grain crushed, baked, transformed, a mirror of the soul's own journey through pain into nourishment. This is why His words continue to touch people across cultures and centuries, because He does not point us away from life, but deeper into it. He shows us that the beloved does not wait only in temples or mystical visions, but in kitchens, marketplaces, gardens, and streets. The ordinary is holy. The simple is divine. Perhaps you have felt this too, sitting quietly, and suddenly the way the wind moved a curtain left you in tears, or watching a bird take flight, and for a moment the world stopped. These are not accidents. These are glimpses of the beloved lifting the veil, reminding you that nothing is ever separate. Nothing is ever small. To live awake is to walk through the ordinary with reverence, to sip water as though drinking from the chalice of eternity, to greet a stranger as though greeting God in disguise, to breathe as though each inhale and exhale is a prayer. Rumi teaches us that enlightenment is not escaping the world, but seeing the world as it truly is, radiant, infinite, shimmering with presence. So look again, at your hands, at your surroundings, at the ground beneath your feet. What you call ordinary is nothing less than the beloved gazing back at you, waiting for you to notice. And so, after fire and silence, after the whirl, the mirror, the ocean, and the hidden holiness of the ordinary, the journey circles back to where it began, your own heart. For everything Rumi ever taught, every verse that has survived centuries, every flame that still burns in his words, was always pointing you not outward, but inward. The fire was not meant to destroy you, but to burn away what you are not. The silence was not emptiness, but the vast fullness of presence. The whirl was not chaos, but surrender to the rhythm of existence. The mirror was not a surface to decorate, but a heart to polish. The ocean was not outside you, but flowing through you. And the ordinary was never ordinary at all. It was God in disguise, whispering through the smallest details of your days. Rumi's journey is our journey. His wound became his teacher. His longing became his compass. His fire became his transformation. And through him, we are reminded that what we fear most, the breaking, the dissolving, the surrendering, is the very doorway into freedom. What we call death is only another word for union. What we call loss is only another form of return. Perhaps you feel it even now, a stirring in your chest, a quiet ache that words cannot hold. That is the beloved, alive in you, pressing gently against the walls you've built, asking to be remembered. Not later, not someday, not in some imagined future, but now, in this breath, in this heartbeat. Imagine sitting with Rumi in the twilight, his eyes alight with the fire of love. He does not give you instructions or doctrines. He does not hand you rules or dogmas. He only points to your wound, to your silence, to your longing, to your ordinary life, and whispers, "The beloved is already here." And suddenly you understand. You were never searching for something new. You were only being led back to what you always were. This is the return home, not to a place, but to a state of being, to a remembrance so deep that even the smallest detail of life becomes radiant, to a love so vast that it cannot be contained by words, and yet it spills into every word, every gesture, every breath, to a truth so simple that it makes you laugh through your tears. You were never separate. You never will be. And so, as this journey closes, it does not end. Because Rumi's teaching is not a lecture to be finished, but a flame meant to keep burning in you, a mirror to keep polishing, an ocean to keep surrendering into. Each time you listen, each time you return, the words dissolve, but the presence remains. If these words have stirred something in you, if you have felt the fire, the silence, the wound, the mirror, the ocean, the ordinary transfigured, then know this: it is not my voice, nor Rumi's voice, but the beloved calling you deeper, calling you home. Stay with that call. Let it shape you. Let it burn away what is false. Let it polish you until you shine. Let it whirl you into surrender, drown you in the ocean, awaken you in the ordinary. Because this is not the end of the journey. It is the beginning of living awake. And if this journey has touched you, if it has opened something within you, I invite you, gently in Rumi's spirit, to walk with us further, to subscribe, not as a habit, but as a gesture of longing, as a way of keeping the fire alive, to leave a comment, not for me, but as a way of witnessing your own awakening, of saying to the beloved, I have heard you. And if you feel moved, to share this flame so that others too may remember the light hidden in their own hearts. Because in the end, as Rumi said, we are all just walking each other home.